Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for our bench press day, but a quick reminder for those of you who watch these videos, please remember to click like down below, be greatly appreciated. So I experimented on my off days a little bit with finding bench positions. I showed you guys on Instagram like some shots I took trying to find my optimal wrist stacking angles, which is what I've done here. Rather than chasing the shortest range of motion with the wide grip, I'm going to just go for the most efficient. And obviously I'm setting up a pretty good size arch here. A lot of people have said, oh, you don't seem to arch much. And I kind of laughed. I'm like, no, my back is 6 or 7 inches off the bench. Just my arms are that long. So I ran up to, relatively easy 305 training max today. Again, the bench will come back up. I've just got to rebuild muscle. It went down a lot during the cut, especially after that shoulder injury. My shoulders are great. Did a few things different though. Keeping in mind with a slightly wider grip where I need to be aware of potential weaknesses. And so we're going to pick supplemental work accordingly. But I'm trying to do everything paused, all right? Everything paused, nice clean pause there. The bar didn't move super fast, but we had no real sticking points, so we're good. So what I'm doing for now, 5x5, pause bench, using the same setup. Now the thing that people will note, if you note the forearm position, what are we doing here? Chasing maximum pec stimulation. It's part of what we're doing. And if you look at the biomechanics behind different grip widths, there is something to be said for mechanical tension on the pecs when we are at that perfect 90-degree forearm angle and everything is stacked. So that's what I'm doing, and everything is stacked, and you guys saw from the different side shots I put up the other day with this exact grip and touch point, where that is. So I'm doing 5x5 on the pause bench. And then obviously incline is going to be a big accessory, and I know I need more shoulder work, and even though last time before the deload and vacation week, I did some overhead pressing, it was pain-free. I even messed with screenshots of wrist stacking this weekend. At home, just trying to do the same thing for the overhead press because it's the same grip on my incline. My incline, I've noticed, is the same as my bench as far as that exact wrist stacking angle and the forearm angle. So, I mean, we're good there. In fact, that's probably great for specificity of carryover if I'm just going to bench for a while with this grip, which is, for those curious, it's pinkies right on the rings, right? Pinkies touching the rings. So this isn't a super wide. At the meet, the Texas meet, and I wasn't happy with the benching that day. The only thing I wasn't happy with, everything else went great and easy. I had my index finger on the rings, which is the widest legal meet grip. Now, I might go back to maxing with that, but I need to build, I think, off of this because this is going to give me the most chest. So it's going to build my pecs up, and I need those pecs, for the mid-range and definitely the lockout with the wider grip. And I need my front delts. I'm going to have to really blow my delts up. I'm going to have to. And incline plays a big role in that. Incline bench, amazing front delt exercise. Everyone always, again, bodybuilders always think of it as a chest exercise, and it is, don't get me wrong. It's always funny to me, these same people will say a closed grip bench is a tricep exercise, but an incline bench is a chest exercise. Like, closed grip bench probably hits more of the overall chest, it might, than the incline does. Incline's great for upper chest. It builds some of the lower chest. Still a chest exercise. Amazing front delt exercise. Now the problem where you run into with these big movements is going to be recovery. We can only handle so much of them, and because of, again, the stretches and the heavier weights, I'm sticking to 5s. And I only did 3 sets of incline today. Why? I don't want to get too much DOMs. I don't want to start, especially coming back from a deload week. And if we don't count the ramp up to the singles as work, which it is work, and it does have stimulation, still gives me 8 sets from my chest. Now here's the thing. Some people might say, well, that's not really hitting that 10. It's not. But look at what I pick for all my other exercises. I do chin-ups. I'm going to be doing weighted chins on deadlift day. Hits the upper chest quite a bit. These tricep extensions, the way that I do these, the laying extensions like this, some people like to call them the Texas skull crusher. I've heard that, which I think is funny. Again, Stretch reflex on the tricep. This hits the other heads of the tricep that the bench doesn't hit as hard, that may carry over to your max, making sure my triceps are strong for the bench. Also, it stretches the bottom. That stretch position is also what we might need coming right off the chest. On a wider grip bench, we tend to miss off the chest. Very few people miss at other places. If you do, you have to have a real imbalance. We can get enough speed off the chest, we can lock it. And as long as I have enough strong enough triceps, we'll always lock it. But we also have to think about the tricep, what it does out of the bottom, right off the chest. So I'm training the triceps to work hardest through their stretch position, which we know arguably, by the way, is where we get the most hypertrophy on most movements. If you're only going to do half a movement, the stretch positions is where you should do it. That's what all the research says. So 5 sets of 10, and I went heavier on these, right? I went heavier on these. These were hard. I struggled with the last couple sets to get 10. But it also works the chest. Because of that stretch in there, we're putting a little bit of chest work. All my chin ups give just a little bit of chest work. I'm getting a lot of trickle over to my pecs. So I think 8 heavy sets is okay for my chest, for the direct work. You know, again, pause benching, you know, with a decently wide grip, pause incline benching, not counting the training max, which again has a stimulus. If we don't even count that, we're at 8. But I'm getting all this splash over, and I think it's enough. So also I decided today to, I need to do some extra shoulder work. I need some in there. I did laterals, and once I got 3 sets deep, I'm like, I really probably should have done front raises, and here's why. I'm looking at the laterals going, yeah, it hits all 3 heads, so it dealt really well in the upper trap, right? And I need to get that extra rear delt work. But it's like, do I really need the extra rear delt work? I've been doing band pull-aparts and band press downs most days right now for really high reps. Well, my rear delts are getting worked with those. My rear delts are going to get worked by the chin-ups. I don't need to spend a lot of time worrying about the rear delts here, which is part of the reason I chose those. You know, and I could have done a reverse fly and done the same thing. They're very similar in terms of EMG activation. If you look at it between those two movements, there's very, very little difference. But I did 5 sets of 10 on laterals. I'm like, I should have done front raises with a plate, but that's okay. We did 5 sets for delts. My delts will get a good stimulus from it. It doesn't matter. You know, we can rotate smaller movements like this, and everyone's like, oh, progressive overload. No, you're not going to train these movements. Your real programming and progress has to come from your big exercises, your multi-joints. When it comes to single joint movements, this is the biggest problem with them. They're just there to create metabolic fatigue. You can't program them. You can't really train them. They're just there to create metabolic fatigue in areas that need a little more work. But I probably should have done a front raise just for the slightly better front delt, which is what I need more on the bench. But this hits the front delt, right? Hits all 3 heads of the delt, which is why it's a decent exercise, even though it's a small movement. Plus the extra upper trap. I could have done a front raise, had a slight bias towards the front delts because my rear delts are getting a ton of work. When anything that works, the rear delt carries over to the side delt. We got plenty of data on that. So next week I may do front raises, but I might do these again. It doesn't make that much of a difference, but it might. The front raise is probably a little more specific to improving my bench, but I need some extra shoulder work. And then I decided at the end, since I've been doing the high rep band press downs, I thought I would do my set for the day on camera at the end of the workout. You know, just because people say, well, what do you do with those? If I say I do something and I don't show it on camera, you guys don't see my sled racks, for example. I've only shown it once, but I'm like, well, since I'm going to do a set of these today anyways after the training, let's just do it on camera. We'll get it in the blog. And it's just an orange rogue band, and I just do high rep band press downs. Again, is there much hypertrophy from it? Probably very little. Good restoration, and it's great for the elbow tendons, because I noticed my elbow tendons, you know, they're not bad. It's not any sort of tendonitis, but I did notice I'm feeling a little weird on my vacation. So I'm like, well, let me just start doing these again to keep those tendons healthy with the heavy benching. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.